Welcome back to another exciting episode of The Necessary Entrepreneur, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of visionary entrepreneurs who are making a mark in their industries. Our guest today is Jean-François Fletchet, the brilliant founder of Taste of Belgium, known for bringing the rich flavors and authentic culinary traditions of Belgium here to the United States. Jean-François has built an impressive culinary empire that celebrates Belgian gastronomy. He holds a Master of Science from the largest university in Belgium and a Master's of Economics from Penn. His entrepreneurial journey is a fascinating blend of passion, innovation, and perseverance. Starting from a humble waffle stand at Findlay Market, he has grown Taste of Belgium into a beloved brand with multiple locations and a dedicated following. Today we'll explore Jean-François' path to success, the challenges he's overcome, and the insights he's gained along the way. From perfecting the art of the Belgian waffle to expanding his brand while maintaining authenticity and quality. Jean-François' story is a testament to the power of culinary passion and entrepreneurial grit. Hey, thanks for joining us. Give us a like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so you never miss out on future content featuring fascinating guests right here on The Necessary Entrepreneur. You can find out more about Jean-François on social media and at authenticwaffle.com. I'm always going to mess unique names up. What a unique name. But you gave me an intro. So it Jean-François Fletchet.
Yeah,
pretty good?
Very good.
Wow, this is awesome. Okay. All right, so there's too many things. So I had to break out the iPad today. There's too many things to talk about how awesome you are and things that you've accomplished in this world in such a young age. We love to hear that, don't we?
Thank you.
So founder and chief waffle officer of Taste of Belgium. That created a smile. So chief waffle officer, we'll talk about that later. Belgian waffle on the social media, I love. You can go to LinkedIn, go to your social media, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, yours personally and the company, and there's different statements, but a traditional Belgian influence with a twist. American classic with a Belgian influence. I saw those two things and I went, okay, that's special. We'll talk about that. However, here's some of the most unique parts that I think people who come in and eat these wonderful waffles, right, and you're updating some menu items, they don't know these things about you, and I didn't before I started doing a little bit of research. You hold a Master's of Science from the largest university in Belgium.
Yeah, among others.
And then you actually hold a Master's of Economics here at Penn in the U.S. You're an entrepreneur and an economist by trade, making waffles in Cincinnati, Ohio. How in the heck did that happen?
So I landed in Cincinnati by mistake. So
Are we supposed to be happy about that?
I think so.
Okay, all right. By mistake.
So originally I moved to the US to do a PhD in economics at University of Pennsylvania. So my goal was to do academic research, teach very nerdy stuff. So economic theory, not business school. And then it took the folks at Penn less than a year to discuss me of academics for life. So all of a sudden I didn't know what to do next. So I completed the master's degree there, and then I could legally work in the US for 1 year. So I applied for jobs all over the country. And then I figured the first place where I get a job offer, I'll move there. It's for 1 year, and then I have 1 year to figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life.
And it happened to be in Cincinnati, Ohio. So the only company that would hire you. I'll put it that way.
And that's the funny thing, is that there is a economic consulting company in DC who made me an offer first. The premise that the offer kind of like got lost. And
so your life would have been completely different.
Oh, it would have been totally different.
In 17 years, you wouldn't be sitting here in a podcast studio talking about waffles.
No, by the time I reached out to them, I'd already moved there. I sent the lease. I did not understand like why I didn't get that job. So I just reached out and say like, hey, just let me know why so I can be at peace with it. And they say like, no, we wanted you. And I'm like, oh, well, that is really weird. So here I am.
So you already stuck with your commitment.
Yeah.
So you signed the lease. You said, I'm here doing the job. So then what happens? This is in 2000. You come to Cincinnati in 2000, and then you have this idea. I don't know when. We're going to talk about that today. And then you start making some waffles in 2007. But I want you to take the mic after I say this. How in the world do you go from 2000 to then 2007? But the best part is, how do you get a 120-pound waffle iron from Belgium to Cincinnati, Ohio?
So let's roll back to 2000. So the company sponsored my visa, and then they kind of, well, first of all, they hired me for 1 year. And then after 1 year, they apply for an H-1B visa, which is an immigration visa, work visa, that you can renew once. And they were happy with the work I was doing, so they sponsored my green card. So in 2005, I got the green card. And then I was kind of bored at work, so I started working with a friend of mine on the side, and we ended up building a hot food vending machine in my basement. So originally the plan with that, so I quit my job, work on that project with a friend. The plan was to work with an Italian company that makes a hot food vending machine, bring that to the US. We had a little partnership with Sarili Foods that was still here. They wanted us to test the product, etc. So looks like things were on track. And then the Italian company got acquired by a larger company that solely focuses on the Italian market. And then I had the dumbest idea ever. I'm there like, how hard can it be? Let's build it ourselves.
How hard can it be? So 2006.
Yeah.
Right?
So we build a vending machine. The first prototype got money from friends, family back home, a group of investors here. Lots of drama, but we managed to deliver something that is working, that the investors are happy with. And then it's December 2006. Economy is not doing that great. We were supposed to get the commitment. That did not happen. I put my last 2 mortgage payment on a credit card. And then I was actually back home in Belgium for what was supposed to be a celebratory trip. And then I had to tell the family, like, well, I don't know what next stage will be with the vending machine. I need to figure that out because I need to find a new group of investors at the time.
And your money's gone.
Yes. So I had 1 credit card that was not maxed out. I went early January to a vending industry trade show in Brussels. And I mean, it was hospitality industry. There was a vending machine division to kind of see what people were doing, etc. And then there was an old man who was baking waffle at the entrance. So I spent 2 hours with the old man and then did some math on the back of a napkin. And then I came back and visited him the next day and left with a 120-pound cast iron waffle maker. I've never baked a waffle in my life.
Ever. Isn't it incredible how 2 hours can change your life?
Yeah.
2 hours. All the preparation on these different courses that you've been on, all the education, all the academics, all the hope, all the time in basements, building vending machines, and you see one thing, spend 2 hours and make a decision and your life has changed.
Well, the idea is that this thing was just something that I was going to do on the weekend to pay the bills so that I can spend the rest of the time during the week to find a new group of investors and continue with the vending machine project.
So then what happened then when you get the waffle iron here? Thinking it's going to be a part-time weekend, what happens?
So the idea was to originally bring frozen waffle dough from that older gentleman in Belgium and then come back here. I tried to check in the waffle iron with Delta. That didn't go well. So it was the first and last time that my brother dropped me off at the airport, because from dropping me off at the airport, he had to figure out how to get a 120-pound cast iron waffle maker, crate it, and ship to the US. So he spent the next 2 or 3 days on that.
Were there things you had to deal with there, even to start the business? You had to figure out how to get the tool to do the part-time job, how to make the logistics happen to even get it here. And you hadn't done any of that. You've never shipped anything that big from Europe to the US.
No.
Right?
So the waffle iron, that was pretty simple. My brother took care of that. On the waffle dough, what happened when I came back is I was talking to Jean-Robert de Cavel, was a very good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And I explained to him what I was going to do, and he told me, like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
What'd you do then when he said this is the stupidest thing? You argued?
Well, he told me, make your own freaking waffle dough yourself, and you can use one of my kitchen.
And that's what you did.
And so that's what I did. And then I realized, well, the recipe you find online are really not that good. So, and I'd never made waffle dough myself. So another friend who's a pastry chef helped me with the recipe, and we kind of like reproduced it based on the way I remember the waffle tasting when I was a kid. So it's not a traditional Liège style waffle; it's a variation. And what I did, I asked my mom to track there was an older guy who was baking waffle when I was a kid at the market in Vise, where we would go on every Wednesday. And then I asked her, can you call him and see if I can reach out with getting some advice from him in terms of proportion, etc. So she tracked him down. I called him. He was retired, and then give me a few pointers, and so it went.
Your friend, a very influential, famous chef who's passed, who you just spoke about, were you friends with him prior to having this idea of making waffles?
Oh yeah, you wouldn't have called me stupid if you didn't know me.
Some people would.
Fair enough.
That brings up this idea of how important it is to have good people around us.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
The network, the people that are. I would argue he was a positive influence, but just with a little bit of negativity and meanness, right?
No, super positive influence. Great friend. Him and Annette, his wife, have been close friends of mine for over 20 years.
Said, come try it in one of my kitchens. No charge, no expectation. Just come and let me help you.
Yep. Just try it there, see if you can make the dough. And then what I did, I reached out to Brian Madison at Findlay Market. So I'd been shopping at the market since 2000, so I knew Brian pretty well, and then I asked him, like, hey, I have an idea. Do you mind if I set up a waffle iron at the back of your produce store on the counter at the back? I can take care of selling the coffee, so you save an employee, and I can see if people like the product or not. And
what were the economics behind this, Mr. Economist? What were they? Were there any? This was just a hope and a dream and an idea. Had you built the plan, the strategy behind the money?
Hey, there was a full business plan on that napkin.
A full business plan. That's all it takes sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there were probably any algorithms on there.
No.
I don't think there was probably strategy on there, was there? What did that napkin look like? Do you have it framed?
No.
You don't have it anymore?
I don't have it anymore.
What would it look like if you had to write that again? Is there 3 lines? Are there 4 lines? Is it more theory? Because you're a theory, right? You're an economist that studied theory.
Yeah, so it was really assuming that people would like the product, and there is really nothing like it that I had seen in the US before. So, and tourists always like it, so I assume people would like the product. But assuming they like it, where can I find a place that would need to sell enough waffles to cover my mortgage and basic expense? I didn't have much expenses. It's just small house, $800 mortgage, a little bit of living expense. And I'm there like, okay, I can probably do that Saturday and Sunday at Findlay Market if I find a place where, I mean, originally I was going to bring the dough, but then it was even easier when I started making it myself, because then the only thing I just needed to bring sugar from Belgium.
So how many hours for the first 6 months of this endeavor? How many hours did you put into this? Let's consider hours a week. So if people think these work weeks are 40 and 50 hours a week, that's not an entrepreneur's work week.
No.
However, if you took a week every 6 months, which would be 26 weeks, how many hours a week do you think you contributed towards this idea?
I mean, at first, not that much, in the sense that it was, that's what I was doing in my free time when I was not working on the hot food vending machine. So we were fine-tuning the mechanics of the machine and all that, and giving presentation left and right to try to find the next group of investors. So I would work Monday through until Friday morning on the hot food vending machine. Then Friday I would go down to Green Up Cafe. It used to be in Covington on Green Up Street, and make the waffle dough in the basement, and then bring it over to Findlay Market. And then Saturday morning I would go pick up the dough, go set up at Findlay Market before the market opens, and then be there as long as it would sell out.
No time, no end to the commitment. Stay until the work is done.
Yeah. And then I realized every week I've not made enough waffle dough.
Every week.
It was really funny. I think it's only after 3 weeks that Brian Madison told me we have a problem. I'm like, what's the problem? And he goes like, I'm in business of selling produce, and this store is congested with people eating waffles.
You're out of here.
So what we did, we actually rented a space together across his produce store where Urbana Cafe is, where you have the rolling garage door. And I set up there, baked the waffle there, and Brian was also selling additional produce. So it was a win-win.
Why Findlay Market? Did it feel natural to some of the markets in Europe? Did it feel similar?
It was really in terms of like, where can I find a lot of foot traffic and have a chance of interacting with people? Because if people don't taste the product, there is zero chance they're going to buy it because they don't know it. So I would constantly sample the product, and Findlay Market was just the best place from that standpoint.
If you took this back to any of your professors, either in Belgium or to the University of Penn, and you showed them your napkin, what would they have said?
Oh, everybody would have told me that there is zero chance this would work. But
so what do we make of that in this world? So you are now a leading entrepreneur that others are looking to have these ideas. What does that tell them and say to them? Because we all have these amazing ideas and dreams. A lot of them don't work. Yours did. Is it because you just kept going and said no to everyone? And you said, no, I'm going to do this? If everyone just kept going, do you think that could happen for way more, that fold-up shop that don't work out? Is it just that you say, no, I'm going to do this and then keep going?
Yeah, I think resilience and grit is super important in entrepreneurship. So you have to keep going. I mean, if you keep on knocking on doors and the doors don't open, just come back and keep on knocking. At some point, all it takes is one of them to open, and then the next one, then the next one.
So you have a location in Rookwood in Cincinnati, and above that, there's a sign that says "Respect the Waffle." Where'd that come from? Respect the waffle.
So originally, so let's remember, I didn't know anything about baking, about waffles, about none of that. And then the one thing I knew exactly nothing about was the restaurant industry. So my goal was not to get into the restaurant business. So from that standpoint, I failed miserably. So originally, when I started, I was making the waffle dough and selling at Findlay Market. Then I moved on into other farmers markets. So I started doing Hyde Park Farmers Market on Sunday with Brian Madison's son, Matt, who does Madison Gelato. So I was sharing a tent with him. And then I started doing Wyoming on Tuesday and then Northside on Wednesday. Then started hiring a couple of people to help me left and right. And then with my friend Johan, who was making the hot food vending machine with me, Johan helped me rewire the waffle iron that came from Belgium. Because the one thing is that, of course, it's 220. There is no 220 available here. So he's a genius in all things electric and mechanical. So he rewired the whole thing. And as I started growing, we brought in more waffle iron from Belgium that we converted. And then at some point, we realized this is kind of silly. Let's just do that ourselves. So we redesigned the waffle iron. We started assembling those and then leasing those to coffee shops and restaurants. So that was the original business model. And we had accounts all the way down to Nashville, all the way up to Cleveland. But it was a loose licensing agreement, which means that I had no control over what people were doing. First account in Columbus, for example, was Jenny's Ice Cream. And I remember I would go there one day and ask the young person, can I get a waffle? Because I was not happy with their sales. And then the young person goes like, yeah, it's going to take a minute. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not in a hurry. And she goes like, well, it's going to be more like 20 minutes. Like, what do you mean 20 minutes? She goes, well, I need to plug that thing in, and then it's going to take 20 minutes to warm up, and then about 3 minutes to cook the waffle. So yeah, it's going to be more like 23 minutes. So that's why I ended up opening shop at the North Market, and we were there for 10 years. Going back to, so original business model, not to get into restaurant business. We were manufacturing the waffle iron, leasing them to coffee shop and restaurants. And everywhere I would go, there would be issue. There was one dude in Cleveland who started making his own waffle dough and selling it with my brand name. Or we had people who were not paying them and we could not go repossess the equipment, or people who were not rotating the product properly. And because it was not a franchise and it was loose licensing, I had no bite. So at some point I repossessed all the equipment, and I'm there like, okay, if you want to have a Taste of Belgium waffles, it will have to be from staff that I trained. And that's when I opened the first restaurant in Over the Rhine in 2011.
Right on the corner.
Yeah. And corner of 12th and Vine. And at the time, I knew very little about restaurants. So that's why it all started with the waffle. And then we expanded. So we have full lunch, dinner menu, lots of Belgian beers. Uh, but it all started because of the waffle. So that's why on the side of the building at Rookwood, and we also have it on the side of the, actually underneath the sign at the banks, we'll have a massive one inside the restaurant at Austin Landing that says respect the waffle, because it's all thanks to that little waffle that I now employ hundreds of people.
And also in 2023, you've become a knight.
Yeah.
An honorary knight from the knighthood of the Belgian Brewers Paddle for your efforts in promoting Belgian beer, all because you didn't want to be an entrepreneur making waffles. All the journeys we travel, huh?
Yep.
When you said you didn't want to be an entrepreneur of restaurants, makes sense. Economists are probably thinking economies of scale, make irons, get a small fee, let everyone else do this thing, but I'll provide. I'm sure you thought your recipe with the irons, you thought your system was figured out.
Yeah.
If they would just have executed it.
If you just didn't have to deal with the human element, it would be amazing.
So how do you deal with that, with dealing with the human element now, with having multiple restaurants and multiple locations?
So systems are really important. So we have a lot of standard operating procedures for everything, including the way you bake a waffle to anything else that we do. And then continuously teaching people and then building the team so that we can have consistency. The one thing that we do differently than other restaurants, and we started that pre-COVID, we have a central commissary. So we always made the waffle dough centrally. So from that standpoint, we always had the commissary. But in 2019, we built a larger facility where we can produce a lot of the recipes centrally, because staffing in the restaurant industry has always been a challenge, especially at the back of the house. And then consistency, as you have multiple locations and you hire chefs. The problem with chefs is that they all want to add their own tweak to it and they know better, etc. We cannot have that if we have the same menu at different locations. And because we make everything from scratch, there is a massive amount of prep. So if we can centralize some of those recipes, it helps with consistency. It helps with cost, because we can do it in larger batches. So that's what we started doing.
So regardless of the restaurant I walk into, the waffle should taste the same.
The waffle should taste the same, and everything else on the menu should. I mean, it does taste the same.
Until you get the chef that just wants to have a special day. He's like, today's my special waffle day at my location.
Yeah, so that's why we do not hire chef. We hire kitchen managers. It makes a difference in terms of the expectation.
So you have standard operating procedures. The guy sitting in front of me, the economist, I'm sitting here thinking he has those for everything.
The funny thing is that for me, I'm more on I like the concept of SOPs, and I can help write some, but it's not in my nature. So I have people in my team who are really, really good at that.
If that's not in your nature, what is?
I mean, I like all the big ideas and
creative and strategy.
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's this journey? I'm sitting here, and you've had to be an entrepreneur of rewiring waffle irons. Thank goodness you had a good partner in that to do that for you. He's brilliant. You had to figure out leasing space. You had to figure out that you needed to have a central commissary. You had to figure out all these things, that each one of them is entrepreneurial.
Yep.
Right? Coming from someone that wanted to be an economist by trade, why do you keep going on this entrepreneurial journey when you have to figure so many different avenues out? What makes you do that and keep going?
I think it's kind of in my nature. So I've been entrepreneurial all along, even as a kid. So I think that maybe the economist part was more of a detour than anything else. So I love entrepreneurship. I love creating things. So that is much more in my nature. In terms of the obstacle, the one that we didn't talk about, that is pretty funny. There are two things that you need to make the waffle. One is a cast iron waffle maker. Now, for the waffle irons that we have, it's actually we do our own casting, not ourselves, but it's actually casted here in Cincinnati now. Then the second element is a special beet sugar that comes from Belgium, because in Belgium it rains more than once a day on average. With the weather that we have, sugarcane don't stand a chance. So all the sugar is coming from beet sugar. I don't know if you've ever seen a sugar beet.
I haven't.
So
Paint the picture.
sugar beet. Well, with my brother when I was a kid, we had my grandpa had sugar beet fields at the back, and we would try to dig the biggest one. I mean, I could, with a lot of work, I could dig some that were bigger than my brother. Those things are massive. Yeah, and they grow on the ground. So
It's a vegetable.
it's like it's a root vegetable, so comparable to a regular beet, except that it really doesn't taste good, but it's amazing for the sugar. And so all the sugar in Belgium is made from sugar beet, and this one is called pearl sugar. So it's a special size of crystal, and it caramelizes inside the waffle iron. That's what gives the color to the waffle. People think that we put some glaze on it. No, it's just the sugar that caramelizes inside the cast iron press, and you need both components in order to get the perfect waffle. So
Which you've created.
yeah. So what I did back in, I guess by then it was 2008. I cashed out my IRA because I could not get any loans from banks, and I bought 10 tons of sugar. So that's 20,000 pounds of sugar.
What'd that cost you?
Gosh, I would need to go back.
Did you buy it from Belgium? You had it shipped over?
Yeah, I bought it from Belgium. I figured the whole thing for import and custom duties and all that stuff.
Did you have any doubt in any of these moves? Like there's so many things that you had to do and be creative and have faith. Did you have any doubt when making these decisions? Like when the original plan for a restaurant isn't working and all the money's gone, you're back home in 2007, right? And then you see the guy making waffles. And then the waffle iron is tough to ship and you have to figure that out. And then the friend at Findlay Market says we have a problem, right? There's just problems that arise throughout business and entrepreneurship. But did you have doubt with any of them?
Yeah, everybody has doubt. Yeah, of course. But then you
So what do?
you just keep going.
Why?
So what's the alternative?
A lot of people wave a white flag.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really like corporate job, and so whenever I do a personality profile, it says like unemployable. So I'm there like, may as well keep going.
Where'd that come from? So when you were digging holes for the sugar beet, you said you were trying to dig the biggest one with your brother. Is he older or younger?
He's younger.
Okay. Were you envisioning, let me dig the biggest one up because the hole that's left, when he makes me mad, he can go in it?
No.
That wasn't the plan.
No, I never thought about it that way.
But maybe subconsciously that's what was happening. Yeah. And so where'd this? Are you the only entrepreneur in your family?
Let me think. Nuclear family, yes. Extended family, no. And I mean, both my grandparents were farmers, so essentially they were entrepreneurs.
Did you know them?
Yeah, yes.
You did.
Yeah. Yes.
So do you think that where'd the influence come to do this? So if you're the one, right, and everyone else, it's similar to my family, right? So I don't act like I did anything special. I actually took the hard road. They took the road of maybe more smiles and a happier life at times.
Yeah.
But where'd this inspiration come from? You said if it even shown up as a kid.
I think it's kind of like my dad that instilled me hard work and seeing recognition. So when I was a kid, I wanted a Walkman. We didn't have iPods, etc. And he said like, great, I'll take some time off work and you can go pick cherries. I'm there like, what do you mean? Because well, then you can work in order to make the money to buy your own Walkman. So I think I was 6 or 7 years old. The funny thing is that by age 12, I was the fastest cherry picker in the entire plantation.
Because you wanted more Walkman or the tapes that went in it?
No, it's just that at that point, it was more competition. I'm there like, well, I bet you that I can pick up more than, because, at the end of the day, how many kilos everybody has made. And then you also make money. So
the competitive streak, that was natural. No one taught that to you.
No, that was natural.
It was just a dad with an idea that says, you want the Walkman, we're going to pick cherries because you probably can sell them by the bushel. Yeah. What do you call the bushel in Belgium? What was that called?
Not sure what. Those were just like kilo containers, and then they would just be. Well, actually, no, those were in like a little wooden case, and then they would weight it, and then you would get paid by the kilo at the end of the day.
How long did it take you to pick cherries before you could buy your Walkman?
I would say 7 to 10 days.
That was it.
I mean, It was quite a bit of work for a young kid.
What's the first tape that you bought?
That's funny that I don't remember.
Then why'd you want the Walkman?
To be able to take music on my own and not have to argue with my mom about what music to play.
Was she playing Mozart and Beethoven, and you wanted to play rock music or something?
No, she was playing the radio.
Okay, and you wanted your time on it.
Yep.
What would you do different?
I don't know. There's been so many stages that a lot of time, if I think back, is just with the information that I had at the time. A lot of time I took the right decisions. Just you cannot change the past, so that's
No regrets.
for the most part no. There are things that we, again, like during COVID, we opened too many restaurants. So that's something that I would change. But at the time, that's also what kept us afloat because of the commissary. So that was really challenging. So we knew that if the commissary was to close, it would be game over. So we were forced to shut down indoor dining. So what we did at the time, it's pretty crazy because my son looked at me, he goes like, Papa, everybody's closing restaurants. Why are you opening some? And so what we did, we opened Crestview, Kenwood, Mason, Fields-Ertl, and we opened those as takeout and delivery only. So we took over kitchen of restaurant that recently closed to then serve those area with takeout, delivery, Grubhub, all that, etc., and make sure that we were getting sales to support the commissary. And then as those sales were going well, when we were able to reopen, I negotiated long-term leases with the landlord, and we essentially doubled in size through COVID. So it sounded like the smartest thing to do at the time. The one thing is I always try to think ahead and then see what happened in Europe with COVID. So, for example, January 2020, I was talking to my landlord and say, hey, we need to put a plan in place with rent reduction when this thing is going to hit. So like, what are you talking about? And they're like, it's a virus. It's not an immigrant who's going to come and knock on the door and say, can I please come in? So everybody ignored me, whatever. So comes March, of course, nobody is paying rent anymore. Everybody's holding on to cash. The US took a very different approach than the rest of the world in terms of handling the labor market. So in Europe and anywhere else, the governments subsidize employers to make sure that everybody stay put in their job and minimize the friction in the labor market. In the US, I have no idea who the economist is who was advising the White House. They decided to do the opposite and maximize the disruption in the labor market by subsidizing unemployment. So all of a sudden, we're opening all those locations and we are competing with the unemployment office to get workers back. And we could not find
You're
them.
not going to win that battle.
And it was terrible. So people would come to our restaurant. They were all excited that we were opening. And then we had all those people and we could not take care of them because we did not have the staff. Or they were saying like, well, your host is not very engaging or very hospitable. And they're like, this is the only person who showed up. So we had no choice. So that is the one thing. If I knew that, if I could go back and not open so many locations at the time, because that was definitely very damaging to the brand.
However, you've doubled in size, if not more.
Yeah, but since then we've also right-sized. So we recently had to close some location because the problem is that although the location opened very strongly, so we knew that people were really excited that we were in the neighborhood. Once you start disappointing people, to try to turn the ship around is very, very difficult.
It's tough to regain that trust.
It is difficult.
So you had to close a couple. So what's the future of the Taste of Belgium? What's the future?
So we're looking at the geographic area and trying to make sure that any location that we have is more of a regional destination. So we recently closed Kenwood and Liberty. When we opened Kenwood, that was the first time we saw any sign of cannibalization. So our manager at Kenwood said, like, I saw so many Rookwood regulars coming here that we know that by closing that one, that will help Rookwood to be more profitable. We are reopening, we just reopened Fields-Ertl in Mason. And by closing Liberty Center, we know that Mason will be like its own kind of like magnet.
A regional hub.
Regional hub. And then we are opening Austin Landing. Same thing. It's far enough from anything else. And then the focus will be on really tightening the screws, because the problem with restaurant right now is that the the model is broken. Most restaurants in the country, most independent restaurants in the country are losing money. The cost of labor is so much higher than before. Food cost is higher, and there is only so much that you can charge for people. If you charge too much, then you really kill the regulars who are no longer coming. Like, we have people who come 3, 4, 5 times a week, so there's only so much we can charge for waffle and chicken.
So what's happening right now in the market with this idea of tips? What's going on? We touched on it a little bit beforehand.
Yeah.
You recently has sat down and had a conversation where they might have been a little mean to you. I don't know where that was, right? A little aggressive. But so what's happening with this law and with what's happening with that right now? What's going on? You articulated it before we sat down really well, and I was like, man, this guy knows about this.
So there is a ballot initiative that will be proposed in November to increase the minimum wage in Ohio. And I think everybody's in agreement that if somebody works full-time, they need to make a living wage. So no issue with the increase in the minimum wage. The problem is the devil is in the details. And then in the details, what that proposal outlines is that they want to eliminate the tip minimum wage. So right now, minimum wage in Ohio is $10.65. I think if you're a server, you're at $5.25. So that's the tip minimum wage, which means that if with the tips you don't make $10.65, then the employer will pay the difference. In the hospitality industry, on average in Ohio, a server makes $27 an hour. So what they're trying to do is fix a problem that does not exist. And they're saying that we as employers should be paying for the wage of our servers, which the whole tipping thing is a weird system, but that's the way it works here. So
it's not like that in Europe.
No, it's not like that.
When I was in Spain, there's no expectations of these things.
There's no expectation of tipping, but here it is it is the most important part of a server's take-home pay.
Yep.
So what they're saying is that what we need to do is increase get rid of the tip credit. Therefore, even if you're a tipped employee, you need to be making $15 an hour. The problem is, as a restaurant operator, right now I have 6 servers on the floor. Let's say they make $5 an hour each. That's $30 an hour. That's my budget per hour to take care of our guests. If now I have to pay people $15 an hour, what happens is that I will keep my 2 best servers, and then the quality of service will go down. We'll have to let people order via QR code, etc. Use technology to compensate for losing 2/3 of our servers. And so they say that they want to help servers with that, but that it's actually going to hurt the very people that they pretend to be helping.
So what's the argument against it? So when people say you're wrong and the people that are founding the bill, what's the argument? Are they trying to make it? Yeah, what's the argument?
So they say that there is a massive amount of wage theft in the state of Ohio, and they're like, nobody should be stealing from tip employees or from any employees for that matter. So this is an enforcement issue, and this is not something that should be fought at the ballot box. We need to lobby the IRS to make sure that they have the proper budget to enforce that. We need to make sure that all restaurant operators are following the rules. But that has nothing to do with the tip minimum wage and killing an industry because of an...
Yeah, if this happens, if it gets passed, minimum wage goes to $15 an hour. You're required to do that for servers.
Yes.
What are the repercussions that no one else, that the elected officials don't understand, that the public doesn't understand? What are the effects down the line?
Well, what will happen is only the best people will keep their job. Other people will no longer be employed in the hospitality industry. A lot of businesses will close. Full service restaurant, as you know it, will be changed forever. And that's what happened in Washington, D.C. They just passed that a few months ago. And based on Bureau of Labor Statistics, they already lost 3,700 jobs in the hospitality industry. People have canceled plans of opening restaurants in D.C. And then we'll see the same thing here. It's just going to be regional. People will be opening restaurants on the other side of the river. They will be getting jobs in... I mean, the good thing for workers is that we're very close to Kentucky, so they still have that opportunity.
So maybe start leasing a bunch of space in northern Kentucky and opening multiple restaurants. So you figured out that you needed to have your restaurants be regional instead of really deep local, right? That's what you figured out. is that a model that you're then going to be able to take to scale your business to multiple regional markets? Like, is that the idea and the plan for an economist and an entrepreneur at heart?
I think one thing that we'll do, I still like the idea of like doing licensing, franchising. So we'll probably look at more strategic partnership. So for example, in January, we'll be opening at the airport at CVG with SSP, a large airport restaurant operators. We will train their team. We will audit their execution, but they will be the one running the restaurants. So that's something that I would like to explore and doing more, because that's the labor in the restaurant industry is such a challenge that if we can do strategic partnership with other group, especially as we expand in other cities, so that's I think we'll be rethinking the growth model.
Do you think you can manage that franchise model better when it didn't work in the human element in the beginning? Do you just think your systems in place will manage that better?
The thing is that at the time I was a team of one, so I was the one bringing the waffle dough. I was the one training the licensee, etc. Now we have system, and we have a team of people, and they're much better at doing that than I am.
Is this going to be a conglomerate of multiple things other than just the Taste of Belgium? Is this a real estate empire? Is this multiple offshoots, different restaurant brands? What's in that brain sitting across from me?
Maybe, but for right now, I have too many ideas. I think right now we need to kind of like really just focus on the core business, which is Taste of Belgium Restaurant Group. We do a little bit of retail, so the waffles are available in 4-packs at Kroger, Dorothy Lane Market, Jungle Gym, etc. We'll probably look at growing our e-commerce, so we do ship waffles nationwide.
So how long will these stay good? So you brought 2 of these 4-packs. I'm assuming this is what we get: Jungle Gyms, Kroger.
Yep.
Right. So how long are these good for?
We rotate them every 3 weeks, but we did like pathogen analysis, and there was still like nothing after 6 weeks. So they stay good for a while. You can freeze them. It's better when you warm them up. You can eat them cold, but if you put them in toaster oven, even microwave for a few seconds, it really brings them back to life.
So am I your test case? Are these 8-week ones?
If you want to try that, by all means.
That's what he did. You grabbed the 8-week shelf.
No, I wouldn't do that.
So what's the best way for me to? So we have kitchens here at the office. If we're going to have these tasty waffles, what's the best way for me to open this package and have my waffle? Is the beet sugar, is it enough? Can I just cut a fork into it and eat it as is?
You can, but it's just once it's warm and the sugar remelts, it's just a different eating experience. Toaster oven works really well. Just heat it up, and as long as you push on it and you can see the waffle resoftens, then it's good to go.
Do we need to make the experience better if we wear the shirt and the hat while we're eating them?
No,
I guess not. So why use all natural ingredients? I don't even truly understand what that statement means, but why?
I mean, my grandparents were farmers, and everything that I grew up as a kid was either coming from there or from my mom's garden. We had a massive garden at the back of the house. So I like ingredients that I can pronounce. Of course, we don't make our own flour, but it's just we use unpromated flour. Like, we try to minimize number of additives. I think it's just the way that I like to cook. I think the cleaner the ingredients, the better the results. And as much as we can, that's what we try to do.
How often do you make it back across the pond?
Once or twice a year. Typically, one time to see the family, and then one time to hang out with the Belgian brewers.
Okay. What's it like when you go hang out with the Belgian brewers? I see a little smile.
Yeah, it's funny. My girlfriend said it looks like a high school reunion.
How long do you stay for? A couple weeks?
With the family, typically I try to, so I can immerse my son in French for at least one full week, and then with the brewers about a week. Typically, we go from brewery to brewery and taste new things, and I also love to bring my team members, because the one thing is that we talk about Belgium and Belgian food and the Belgian beers, but it's once you go there that then they can see things through my eyes, and then they can see why it's important the way we pour the beer, why it's important to use the right glassware, why we present the food that way, etc.
So you're talking about culture.
Yeah.
So culture definitely matters.
Definitely.
So when you're talking about the way that the beer is poured, you're not talking about the beer or the glass, the way it's poured. So that you're talking about details of culture, right? That you brought these ideas. Where's that come from? Does that come from the culture of an entire country, from just the nucleus that you grew up in? Where's this?
On the beer side, that's the entire country. I mean, in Belgium, I mean, we have more style of beers than anywhere else in the world. I mean, we always say Belgians invented craft beer. It's funny when I got knighted, there was a ceremony where we do the blessing of the beer. So you leave the Grand Place, you walk to the cathedral, and then there are people dressed in period costume carrying a barrel of beer, and then you have the blessing of the beer. And last year, was the 525th blessing of the beer. So in terms of tradition, it's just unbelievable. And the association of Belgian brewers that I told you about are the descendant of that tradition.
525 years.
That's crazy.
And that's when you received your knighthood.
Yes.
Does that, I grew up in the U.S. right here, not too far from this area. Is that something that you received? Is it special? It feels special.
It's very special. That's kind of a lifetime achievement. It's the fact that I am kind of an ambassador for Belgian beer and Belgian beer culture abroad. So yeah, it is for me, it's a big deal.
So your work is done.
No, I don't think it will ever be done.
Do you ever have the dream of residing and living back at home? Or is this home now?
Well, Cincinnati is home. Yeah, this is home. But I'd like to go back. I'd like to maybe spend a little bit more time. And I really enjoy bringing products back from Belgium. So we now partner with Belgian brewers. We have our own triple that is brewed just for us in Belgium. We have a Taste of Belgium IPA. And that is super fun. Bringing more of the Belgian culture here.
If you had to enunciate and explain Belgian culture to us on a microphone.
Okay.
Tell us.
I think it starts with the sense of humor. There is nothing that is too serious to not make fun of. So Belgians have a very special sense of humor. And there is an implicit rule that if somebody died, you need to wait at least 24 hours. It's terrible.
To make a joke?
To make a joke.
And we're making jokes about the waiting 24 hours to make jokes.
Yeah, I know. So the sense of humor, I think, is something that is very special. And then Belgium is a country of compromise. It's a massive melting pot. So we have pasta bolognese on the menu. And people say, like, why in the world would you have pasta bolognese on the menu? You're a Belgian restaurant. You will not find... If there is a small bar in Belgium and they have one item on the menu, one food item, it will be pasta bolognese. The students in Belgium, that's all they eat. We had so many Italian immigrants coming in between the two wars to come and work in the coal mines that it's part of the culture. We eat more pasta bolognese per capita than the Italians. You will not find a butcher shop in Belgium that does not carry merguez, the spicy lamb sausage from North Africa. Same thing. A lot of people came through Belgium going through France because Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia were French colonies. So they come to France and they realize that, hey, in Belgium they also speak French, so maybe we can settle there. And so we have like so many North African restaurants, and then merguez is just something that it's now part of the culture. So Belgium is an interesting melting pot where you have like all sorts of influence. We use, from a culinary standpoint, Belgium is kind of a region of France, strictly from a culinary standpoint, nothing else.
You get in trouble for saying that.
Yeah, so that's why I want to make sure it's just culinarily, where we use different local ingredients. And one of the big differences is that we use a lot more spices. So you will see like spice cookies where we use like cinnamon and cardamom and ginger, and then like, for example, the Belgian cheese croquette that we brought back in the restaurant, we use nutmeg. And it's all historically, Antwerp in Belgium was the largest port in Europe and was at the intersection of the Silk Road. So we got so much more international influence than pretty much anywhere else in Europe. So Belgian culture is just the culture of soaking what's coming and making it your own. And then we have 3 national languages, so it makes it a little bit tricky to manage, but it's a fascinating country.
It seems like it's probably welcoming
It's very welcoming.
in the EU, so we could probably travel there very easily. There's a new. Do we have to have a visa now? We didn't used to have to. Are we going to have a visa to get in?
I'm not sure. I saw something. I still have a Belgian passport, so I'm not sure, but something is changing.
Yeah, I thought so. I can't just walk into the EU and start driving everywhere. We have to have visas to go places.
No. You only would need a visa to enter, because once you're in the EU, there is free circulation of.
So that's not going to be restricted.
No.
Okay, it's just getting in. So building
except for that big island, they kind of out now. Yeah.
Oh man, we have so many shared experiences with that big island, don't we all? 1787 was a big time for us over here with the big island. Hey, now France did some things. We just talked about Northern Africa and having things, right? I know the big landmass. So starting a restaurant is no small feat. Not at all. Why do you believe that so many fail? There's a lot.
Yeah, I would say overconfidence would be one thing, and not understanding the amount of work that is necessary to put in. It's having the right mindset and finding the right people, because we always say you're only as strong as your weakest link, and as a restaurant, you're only as good as your weakest shift. So if you have a bad shift, then you're going to get so many negative reviews, because if somebody has a great experience in a restaurant, they may tell one friend. If they have a bad experience, they're going to tell the entire neighborhood. So that it's a very unforgiving industry.
Maybe that's why in the beginning, your friend who was a massive influence here said, "You're crazy." Maybe it was to protect people he cared about, to say, wow, do you know what you're doing?
No. He told me it was stupid to bring the frozen waffle dough from Belgium, and I should make the dough myself.
So that was what he said was.
That's what he said. So, and my goal was never to get into the restaurant business, because I knew interacting through him how hard that was. So that was never the plan originally.
What is your culture of the Taste of Belgium from the employee's perspective?
So the one of our core value is hospitality, and it starts with being hospitable towards one another. So that's really important to me. And then growth oriented. We want to hire people who want to grow with us, and that's one of the thing I'm the most proud of, is to see all the people to whom we're able to give opportunity. Whether it's someone like Sean, years ago, who started with us as a delivery driver, then dishwasher, then prep cook, line cook, and then ended up running his own kitchen. I mean, things like that. That's just amazing. And we have so many examples throughout the years of people who've been with Taste of Belgium for 10 or more years now, which is pretty unbelievable.
That's special.
So that is really special.
Yeah.
So,
what does legacy matter to you?
In what sense?
Personally, looking back on, 20, 30, 40 years, when you look back, and we're looking ahead where we'll look back on the restaurant and what you've done, does the legacy of what you've accomplished, what you've been a part of, does that matter in any way for you? How you feel, how you're seen, the legacy that's left behind?
I know that's funny, because I think as an entrepreneur, we rarely look back. It's just like we're too busy doing stuff that we need to focus on what's ahead of us. I don't know. Do you ever look back?
No, legacy to me is irrelevant.
Okay.
But it's a topic that so many people are talking about, and I start to hear it in people in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and they start thinking about their legacy. And so I'm wondering if I'm going to do that then.
Okay, that's fair.
Right? So maybe when I'm less entrepreneurial, when I'm not grinding or working as hard. I think I'm a guy that's always going to be working, but I think as we get older, you're probably going to have less energy.
Sure.
Right? And maybe some priorities of things change. We don't have the hustle and the grind as much. Are we going to look back and say, was it a worthwhile venture? Was it worthy the things that I spent all this time on in my life? And if they're asking that question, the best of us, is it important to think ahead and think forward a little bit more? Because I think legacy is about looking forward to say, what am I going to leave behind?
No, I would definitely hope that Taste of Belgium continues even after I'm gone. How that would be structured, I would not make this a legacy business in the sense that I would not expect my son to take this over. But I hope that Taste of Belgium as a company, as a concept, can outlive me, because I think it's fun, it's unique, and I think that's a way of giving. With the amount of opportunities that we've given people just here regionally, I think if we expand that with the same system of values in other cities, then we can give more opportunities to people and have fun with hospitality.
If that job offer from DC wouldn't have been lost, what do you think your road would have been?
There at the time would have been to work as an economist on big antitrust case, so it would have been very, very different. I don't know how long I would have lasted there, because at the end of the day, that's not who I am. I have a lot more fun with creative thinking, whether it's what I'm doing now. When I was in my job here, I started as an analyst, and then I ended up developing statistical applications. So I don't know. I would have probably done something creative or entrepreneurial, not creative in the artist sense of things. But
Entrepreneurs we're artistic. We are, because I think what we're doing every day is we're painting a picture.
That's true.
Right? Every day. And but it never quite turns out the way that it was outlined, does it?
No.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's just, if we know where we're going, doesn't matter if it's not necessarily a straight.
Yeah. Just go ahead and set the destination and make sure you follow it.
Exactly.
So you recently ran a marathon here in Cincinnati, the Flying Pig.
Yeah.
Right? We were talking that I've never run a marathon. The most I've run is a 10K.
Okay.
Back when I was in shape, 14 years ago, I ran it in around 48, 49 minutes, I think.
That's not bad.
It's respectable.
It's respectable.
Yeah. And it's online, the Flying Pig 10K. No, the Thanksgiving Day race, 10K.
Okay.
It's online, I promise. You ran it in 3 hours and 7 minutes. Your goal was 3 hours. And I asked you beforehand, did you think about quitting? You said no. Why spend 3 hours and 7 minutes running 26.2 miles? Why?
Yeah, that's what I ask myself during the entire time that I'm doing that. And then once you cross the finish line, you go like, oh my God, I cannot wait to do that again. It's the weirdest thing.
Do you need more spice in your life? Why?
For me, it keeps me balanced. So going through a training regimen, and it's just like that's kind of way out.
It's worth it the way your body feels for the next few days?
Yeah.
Were you an athlete as a kid?
Little bit, but Belgium is very different. So there is no sports in college. So I played sport in high school. I ran a little bit, but not much, and then took a break for a long time. Did my first marathon in 2015.
Here?
Yeah.
The Flying Pig?
Yeah.
I think your sport was digging ditches, seeing how it's sized up with your little brother. What are you still trying to figure out?
The big challenge is the restaurant business model. Where do we take that in a way that makes sense? Because the industry is challenging, and so how do we invest in the right set of technology? How do we leverage things with AI, which is super fun? So it's trying to figure out what is a business model that makes sense in this current environment.
What do you love to see in an employee?
Sparkle in their eyes. See that somebody is passionate. I mean, if you have somebody who's passionate about something, then you know if there is passion, then they can be passionate about something else. So just when we interview them and you can see that there is a twinkle in their eye about something that they love doing, then we'll, if it's for an hourly employee, entry-level position, then typically that's a good sign that we want to hire that person.
And you'll convince them to sparkle about your thing.
Exactly.
What makes you happy?
That's a tough one. Completing a marathon, that would be one. Hanging out with my girlfriend, my son, her son. So we have a cute little family. So I love spending time with them with friends.
Would you walk to Washington Park and hang out for the day, or anywhere?
Anywhere. We like to travel together also. The kids love skiing. Skiing is super fun. So we went to ski in Chamonix in France last December. That was amazing.
Is that the Alps?
In the Alps, yeah. What is crazy is that you can ski. You can go for 10 days in Chamonix for less money than 4 days in Vail. Skiing in the US is so expensive. While in Europe, it remains a sport that is affordable. It's
What was special about it?
What was really cool is to be there long enough that you didn't have to be stressed out about getting on your skis every single minute of the day. That was the best thing. Because when you go ski here, it's so stressful because you want to get every minute of it.
Because it's so expensive.
Because it's so expensive. You need to get that return on that investment.
What makes you sad?
Closing a restaurant. That's kind of like losing not a piece of me, but it's a piece of the business. And it's just like that's tough. I mean, failures are tough. So,
But you learn the most in them.
yeah.
It's such a bad relationship that we have to have with failure in entrepreneurship. And you keep going and you know somewhere over the horizon there's another failure. But we still raise our hand to say, let's go.
Yep.
Oh, we're crazy. There's something
We
wrong
are.
with there's something wrong with us. What makes a great restaurant?
It's the feeling that you have when you walk in, and it's more of a feeling than, I mean, when you go out to dine, it's the experience. And so the experience, it could be a fine dining restaurant, or it could be a bustling taco joint. So it's just like what is the atmosphere where things are flowing right, like the music level is right, the you know, it's a lot of the things that you will not see. It's only when things are off that you notice them, if that makes sense. Like you go dine somewhere and you see you're surrounded by dirty tables, or you have to wait forever to get a drink. So what makes a great restaurant is just like when all those things from the hospitality standpoint are properly executed, and when people welcome you and you don't feel like you're a burden on the server, which is sad. I think the state of the industry has gone down quite a bit. We lost a lot of people, kind of like lots of lifers in the industry. I think it's really it's the experience.
When you say that, when I went to Spain over New Year's and the holiday of 22 going into 23, we drove to Granada.
Okay.
Cool town. It's
So
like
you saw the Alhambra?
it was incredible.
It is.
Yeah. And we were up in the mountains, so where they play the music too. I forget the name of it, but there's these little caves where there's houses, and you can go and listen to music. The views from up there in the Alhambra, and it was just incredible. But we stayed in a hotel that was, you opened up the door and the cathedral's right there. Awesome. But we ended up in a little cafe, a half block down. You never know what it's going to be. But we sat down, and that's the way it felt to me. And I don't get that feeling as often as I wish I did as you're talking about it. We go there, and it's about the food and all that, but it's very seldom now. It's what you're talking about the industry, that you have that feeling from walking in to when you're leaving, that it's just a comfortable part of life, that you just get to smile and participate the whole time, and everything just works so well and smooth. That's probably your goal as you sit here and talk
That's the
about
goal.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just a random cafe, and I think the experience made the things taste better.
Absolutely. It's all those little details, and once something is out of sync, then you notice it. It's like if you're playing piano and all of a sudden you hit the wrong note. It's just like it changes everything, and that's kind of the way it is. And you don't notice it until it's out of sync.
Mm-hmm. I bet you see it and notice it though, before I would.
Probably.
How do you get everyone to buy into the idea of that in each individual restaurant, your locations? How do you accomplish that from a culture perspective? That the way you probably place the silverware and how you set it down, or how you look at a customer and how you engage, and we would call it bedside manner and being a physician. How do you get everyone to buy into that?
We try to start with the leadership team and then get the leadership team to spend more and more time in the restaurant so that people can see things through their eyes, because my leadership team and I are much more on the same page than somebody who would be more in the trenches every day. And then it's me going to different restaurants and just showing them, okay, the lights is not at the right level. We need to adjust the music level, this and that. And I think a lot of it is explaining to the people why. Because if you just say, hey, the music level is too low, you need to increase it. And it's like, okay, well, that's random. Or if you explain like, hey, you can hear the people around us talking. You can understand that conversation. If you increase the music level, then the conversation becomes private. Things like that. If you explain the why, then I think people...
They appreciate it and they're willing to get on board.
And what's challenging is with the staff rotation and the fact that over the past few years, we lost so many people in the industry. That's what's difficult. And also the fact that we're dealing with a newer generation who is not as familiar with human interactions than ever before, because everybody grew up on a smartphone and they interact with their friends via text instead of hanging out in person or via video games. That is definitely a challenge.
So you feel it every day.
Definitely.
So how do you combat that?
I think better screening during interview, and then there are things that you can tell with the way people will carry themselves, the way they talk, etc. But it's definitely a challenge.
So what advice would you give to your son? I don't know how old he is.
He's 12.
What advice will you give to him to make sure that he's the person that 16, 18, 21, 22-year-old kids as they achieve adulthood need to be?
So what the one thing that I try to do is make sure that I minimize the amount of time that I'm on the phone when he's there. And whenever I need to get on my phone, I let him know, like, hey, this is for work. I'm really sorry. This thing is definitely, you're more important than the phone, but I just need to address that. So making it clear that...
You talk to him that way.
Yeah, and that the most important thing when you have a conversation with someone is to focus on that person and, if possible, not even have that thing on the table and...
Be present.
Be present, yeah.
He's going to have such an advantage. I bet you already see it with him at 12.
I think so. And what's really funny is that a couple of years ago, he spent an overnight camp in Belgium. And the first thing that they did, they asked him, like, do you have a cell phone? And he did not. But then it was really funny to see they had a big bag and they were just collecting the cell phone of all the kids. And then they were picking it back at the end of the week. So one entire week, no cell phone at all.
How'd you do with that?
Oh, I had no problem with it. And he was the one without that cell phone. He was the one spending a week.
Yeah.
And for him, that was his favorite vacation ever, because he got to spend the entire time with other kids without any technology.
So what should we do with this advice as adults? If that was the best experience of his young life already, what should we do? Bill Gates, the guy who created Microsoft, always went away with a bag of books.
Yeah, I know. That's
right?
amazing.
And I don't know how much he turned off, but how I understood it, he turned off and went away. What do we take from this?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Mm-hmm. Well, we could do it. Should we? That's the thing. Is this something that entrepreneurs should do?
I mean, the one thing that we are changing is because with COVID, we let so many people work remote, etc., and then we hired people in remote positions because it didn't matter. It does matter. So, sorry.
You're good. The cough button. You're good.
So the thing that I like to do is bring back everybody in person and make sure that we have meeting in person and not technology when we are in a group together. I think that's important.
Maybe you need to send your employees and have a plan to send them to Belgium for a week.
Yeah, all of them would be difficult.
No,
but
randomly at different times.
We have sent a lot of employees.
Yeah, like achieve certain things, and they're in the business for 12 months and make an investment in them. If it's so impactful and it's so beneficial and you feel that it is, and the culture, it might make them more invested, more bought in, and it might be one of the best investments ever, not just them, maybe for you.
Yeah, we try to do it after a few years, but after a year employment would not be enough. But
Yeah.
it's expensive.
Yeah, it's probably $10,000 to do the whole thing. Yeah. So as entrepreneurs, and I'm sitting here listening, I'm like, yep. He's talked about all the reasons that's tough to keep going. I think there's thousands of them as entrepreneurs. There's all these obstacles that we are confronted with. All these reasons every day when we get up. You can come up with the reasons not to. You don't focus on them. You don't think about them, but they're out there. We've talked about so many today. What's the one reason that you should keep going as an entrepreneur compared to all the thousands that are just asking us to stop and quit and give up? What's the one reason?
I mean, Taste of Belgium is no longer me. I mean, we have between 350 and 400 employees. So it's all those people who rely on me for their livelihood, to put food on their table. So, I mean, that's the reason to keep going. It's just like making sure that I can keep them employed, keep giving them opportunities. That would be the biggest failure if things were to stop. And no, so
the people.
It's the people.
As you scaled, you've grown, you've opened restaurants, you've closed some. COVID came, really challenging for your business. How do you maintain quality of product, of operating the business while you're scaling? How do you do that? So, like, not just what you've done, but what you've learned, and as entrepreneurs, that can be helpful. How do you do that?
So the one advantage is because we have a central commissary, so a lot of the base recipe are done centrally. So all the waffle dough is prepared at the commissary, then shipped to the stores. They bake the waffle fresh at the store level. Same thing for cookies, etc. So centralizing some of the production is definitely a key element. And then training, constant training, leveraging technology, recipe of the day with our director of training daily, ask people, okay, I want to see a picture of this. Then everybody makes the dish, everybody sends a picture, and then she sends feedback and say, like, well, no, too many tomatoes, not enough radishes, whatever it is, or I can see this dressing, this salad is overdressed, or that waffle is overcooked. And so it's constantly reminding people.
Do you read books?
Yeah.
Do you have any good advice for just one? I'm not asking for the list that everyone does. Is there one that has made the biggest impact in your journey that stands out, or one that really has? That we can understand in English language?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. One that I like that I think is really applicable on both personal and professional life is mindset. Carol Dweck. I think good. Like difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset, and how you can go from one to another. And it's amazing. They teach that at my son's school. So I remember on the fridge, he must have been 5 or 6 years old, and he came back with a map of the brain. And then we put it on the fridge, and on the left side it was fixed mindset, and then on the right side it was growth mindset. And it was written in small letter, all the things that characterize one versus the other. Like on the fixed mindset, it's too hard, I will never do it. And on the growth mindset, if I keep on trying, I'm going to get better at it. And it's just like, it's amazing, because once you introduce those concepts, I just have to look at him sometime. I'm there like, Jacques, is this a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? He goes like, yeah, sorry.
That's so dirty, Dad.
It's
That's
amazing.
So it is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you understand the concept. There's other ones that I just had this conversation with someone yesterday. There was another book on top of one of my somebody in the leadership team, that another book that somebody wrote about mindset. It's funny. I often have this statement that says, all we are is our thoughts and then our actions. That's how I've broken the simplicity of life down with all the complexities. We're our thoughts and then our actions. And that can be developed, learned, evolved, grown is tremendous. No matter where you come from, no matter your level of education, it's awesome. What's the rest of 2024 look like for you?
So we are reopening. We just reopened our Fieldsworth location, so that's super exciting. And then we are in the final stages for Austin Landing. So after that, I would be very excited to not open any other restaurants for this year and probably not next year either. So really fine tuning what we do every day, making sure that each restaurant is operating the best it can, and focus on relaunching some new dinner items that we used to serve when we were one or two restaurants, and then bringing back some more of the traditional Belgian food. So for example, we're bringing back, actually, we are introducing something that in French we call it jambonneau. So it's a pork shank, but it's on the bone. It makes a turkey leg look like a meal for a kid. This thing is massive. It's amazing. So we make a house-made veal stock. We braise the pork shank in veal stock with our Taste of Belgium triple for hours, and then we serve that with a coarse grain mustard, little salad, and frites, and that thing is amazing. So I'm really excited about focusing on food, and especially growing the dinner menu.
That sounds like fine dining with waffles. That's awesome. Who made the biggest, as we wrap up here and get you out of here, we got a few more minutes, but who made the biggest difference in your life?
Probably the guy who supervised my master thesis at the University of Namur. I showed up for an exam with him, and I was just going through the motion with school, and then I showed up, and he said, like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Who am I? My name is Jean-François Fletchet. I'm right there." He said, "I can see that, but I've never seen you in class." And I'm there like, No, I've been there twice." He goes like, "Why twice?" I'm there like, "Because I give everybody a second chance." So it was an oral exam. In Belgium, we have a lot of those, and so that didn't start on a good footing. And then he asked me a bunch of questions, and then I answered, and he said, like, "We didn't cover that in class." And I'm there like, holy moly, they lied to me, because I didn't go to class, so I studied the entire book. And then he told me, "You read the whole thing?" I'm there like, "Yeah." And he goes like, "Well, you seem to actually like that." I'm there like, "Yeah, it's very interesting topics." And then he asked me if I would consider doing my master thesis with him. And then he told me under one condition. And what's the condition? He said, "You can never skip a class again." So I did my master degree with him. I've graduated summa cum laude valedictorian, to the surprise of everybody. And then from then, went on to University of Leuven, got another master's degree, and then ended up moving to the US, going through Penn, University of Pennsylvania. So if it wasn't for him, I would have never been in the US. So I think he's the one who had the biggest influence.
It's incredible. Well, there's two moments that you're a guy sitting here, I'm assuming in your 40s.
Just turned 50.
Wow, you're doing good, man.
Thank you.
Yes. There's two moments through this entire conversation that just happened on one day. This 2-hour conversation with the older gentleman who's making waffles, and then you come in for an oral exam with a professor. And those two moments on just 2 days of this entire life completely changed the trajectory.
Yep.
What the heck are we supposed to make of that?
I don't know. Always be open to new possibilities, I guess.
Yeah. Never stop showing up, because if you change anything about those 2 days and you don't go to those two things, you're not sitting here, this guy with all these employees making the impact. Because after today, I used to just look at your restaurants as a restaurant with waffles and it's tasty. But once you get to know what happens behind the scenes and know the person, that the inspiration for the culture comes from them. And no doubt the culture for these restaurants comes from you. And I'm not surprised that you have decade employees. I'm not. That I bet you take this demeanor and all this experience, and this guy sitting here today, I think that's you every day. This feels authentic to me. And those people that get to show up to work with you each and every day, they're benefiting. No, if they're just an hourly employee and they stay for 6 or 12 months, if they'll come to work the way that you showed up for that oral exam with that professor, I think you're a guy in that culture that could probably help change their trajectory. That's what it feels like to me.
Thank you. We've changed quite a few, for sure.
Yeah. And so maybe that's a part of the Belgian Waffle University. Just show up, and no matter the moment that you're in, be present, listen. There's people here that care. And if you're willing to show up every day and come to class, you can get a master's degree in life or whatever it may be. That's what it feels like this is. Cincinnati's better for having you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. And these waffles are going to be tasty. I'm going to find out if they're as good in the office as they are in the restaurant. I'm sure you believe so.
It's close. It's never the same as fresh off the waffle press.
But better than other waffles you can get in.
No doubt.
Right. So when I come to, I'll probably come to Crestview.
Okay.
Right. So when I go there, I'm going to walk in and it's going to feel like that little small cafe in Granada. Good. Check. Okay.
It's a big restaurant, but
but hey, what should I order off of the menu?
have you been there since the renovation?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think of the umbrellas?
It's awesome. It's awesome. Awesome.
So that's really funny. That's coming from little city in Namur in Belgium where I studied, and there is a street where they put all those umbrellas there, and it's also kind of wink to René Magritte, the Belgian artist. So what you should order? Will you come for lunch or for dinner?
Let's say dinner on a Friday or a Saturday.
Okay. Then for dinner, do you eat everything?
No, I am. So let's say yes, because you would be mad at me because I'm picky.
No. Tell me.
I'm as American gets, man. If I go have a steak, I have a petite filet. I mean, I'm just normal and basic.
Okay.
Right?
But no dietary restriction.
No, none.
So I would say, first of all, you want to get some beer. So I would recommend either doing the taste of. What do you normally drink?
I don't know, like a Blue Moon's good. That's a Belgian influence, right? Kind of.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So if you like wheat beer, we have Bavik Super Wheat, small family business in Belgium. I mean, not that small there, but family-owned business. So I would start with Bavik Super Wheat. On the food, try the Belgian cheese croquette. They're on the short card menu right now. Those are amazing. So it's kind of like super cheese stick if you want, but really good. It's made with Gruyere and Swiss cheese, a little bit of nutmeg, and then main course. If you're meat eater, you have to try the pork shank because that thing is really amazing. It's super flavorful, so that would be a good one. Would you come on your own or
no? I'll have her with me.
Okay,
she loves good food.
If she prefers something on the lighter side, we brought back a salad niçoise. So that one is fantastic. We use seared tuna instead of canned tuna. Traditionally is a high quality canned tuna, but people never understood that here. So when we brought it back, we decided to do it with seared tuna, and it is so well executed. And then for dessert, we just added orange scented creme brulee. So I think that's one that you should share, and definitely one of our birthday waffles dressed up.
And leave with a coffee.
And you could leave with a coffee or do an after dinner drink.
What's the after dinner drink? Is it Italian influenced? Is it an espresso, since that the Italian influence in Belgium?
So we every location has an espresso machine, so we can do any coffee drink, and we can definitely spike it, whether it's with Geneva or an Italian liquor or anything like that.
Sounds awesome. Thanks for continuing doing this. I think no matter how tough the restaurant business is, this helps influence our culture as a city, as a region, and that you guys are willing to do this, to get up every day and fight for it, to give us these awesome places to go eat and experience. Makes us a little happier.
Thank you.
On our tough days. Anything else in passing? You have more Newton media to go to. What's this thing going to be here? Your son's 12. You don't require him to work in the restaurants.
No, it's funny because he could actually now, because as the son of business owner, you don't have the same labor rules. So
pick the cherries.
So he may walk a little bit this summer. We talked about that.
Buy the iPhone. Your Walkman's his iPhone.
He's not buying an iPhone, so
he doesn't have a phone.
He has a flip phone. He calls it a dumb phone, but yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. This has been intentional, the way that you're raising him. Thanks for coming in. I think I'm excited to go back. And what's your favorite location? Can you have one? Of all your locations, do you have a favorite?
I mean, OTR always has a special place in my heart because that's where that was our first restaurant. So it's just when the place is busy and everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, the feel of the place is really electric, and it's just like it's great when it feels like that. Like yesterday, before FC match, we went there, my girlfriend and her son, and we had dinner there, and the place was busy, and everybody was just like, everything was going well. It's just like, it is a good feel. That's great to see that.
Did we get a win when you walked to the game? Did you go?
Yeah, I went to the game, and we had to leave early because they had to go to bed. Was it 1-0 final score, or?
I don't know. I'm wondering. Were we up or down?
We were up 1-0.
Okay. Jack, you should know.
Okay.
He was there. We won.
Good.
All right, good.
Glad we won.
We're struggling. We're not as good as last year, right? So we're struggling a little bit. What'd you say? Second place ain't too bad.
No.
That's not my philosophy, sir. First place or none. But thanks for coming in. It's awesome. Great to meet you. And go experience the new umbrellas at Crestview if you're in Northern Kentucky. Follow the menu that he spoke to, and go grab some waffles here at Jungle Jim's. We're going to be at Jungle Jim's Friday up there.
Oh, very good.
In their podcast studio.
Are you meeting with him?
With Mark? No, I don't think we're going to meet with him. But he probably doesn't. We're not worthy enough yet, I don't think. But Mark Borison does the podcast up there. Okay. I don't think Jim's going to come in. He may pop in on us.
He's a funny guy.
He's funny, right? Would he fit in Belgium?
I think so.
Yeah. So go there, pick these up. And what do these cost? Do you know what the retail is on these?
Yeah, $12.
$12.
And then at the store level, we do 2 for $20.
That's it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to wear the shirt. I get a little dirty on doing some construction and stuff, so this may have a little bit of dirt on it, but it's awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.